is the great Denny Carter himself. He's here. You're wearing a robe, Denny. I'm sorry, you've copped so many strays over the course of the season. We're just, when we don't have things to talk about, we just, what can we say about Denny Carter and his robe game?
That's okay. Look, I wore what people call the robe on my Tuesday stream on the NFL and NBC YouTube channel, and I've come to accept it. You know what? If they want to call it a robe, you call it a robe. And they tease me about it. I'm okay with it. I'm not mad at all, no matter what anyone says.
Well, I appreciate that. Two questions and two questions only, Denny. The first one is, have you ever actually been to Hakkasan or a Vegas nightclub of the ilk?
Great place.
I have not, and I've never even heard that word before. So. All right. Well, that is a goal in the next year, is to get you there, And then my second question is that over the past week, our colleague Denny, you and I, our mutual colleague Pat Crane, won $2 million in a fantasy football contest. I was just curious what you have done over the past week.
Wait, I thought I was coming on to discuss the $47 in best ball winnings that I had this year, but apparently no one wants to talk about that. I don't know why.
Oh, boy. You're a 47-year-old. You're a 47-year. What I was trying to say, a millionaire, but like a 47.
Yeah,
I can't.
It's really hard to say.
I don't know. I screwed that.
$47
Anyway, we're going to workshop that. Yeah. Congratulations, both you and Pat Crane, in plus money in best ball this year. Whatever. We don't need to really get into the details.
Right. Denny, let's talk fantasy, Denny. And by fantasy, I don't mean Matthew Berry's fantasies of you at Hakkasan brewing coffee in the back. I'm talking about
with the robe
football fantasy. Can you just give us an overview, I guess, of just, conceptually how you approach playoff fantasy, any kind of guiding theories that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I try to differentiate as much as I can, and try to, kind of look at the players that'll be massively used across, whether it's a big tournament or a small group, whatever it is, and try to get some differentiation. I think you'll see that in my roster. And obviously, you have to eventually take some shots on teams that are underdogs going into this thing, underdogs on Wild Card Weekend. And decide to go in on those players and benefit from them advancing a game or two or maybe even three. That makes all the difference in these playoff leagues.
I would agree, and I also think, just to that point, I think it's important, obviously, to know the size of the contest you're in. Right. Is it is it 15 buddies from work, or is it 5,000 people that are entering like some high stakes contest, the kind of contest that Pat Crane wins and that you do not? Like just to sort of give an example, right? It just kind of depends on what you're entering here. So, and obviously, one of the things we talked about, Denny, before we joined the show was there's just a simple exercise of like, how do I think the playoffs play out? You sort of just have to kind of do that math, go through game by game. This is what I think happens, and then you fill up your lineup accordingly. We asked you at the very top of the show, we asked everyone to fill out a roster by these rules. You had to fill out 14 players, one from each playoff team. There were 2 players that you could double up: 4 running backs, 4 wide receivers, 4 flexes, 2 QBs, a tight end, and a defense. PPR scoring. And here, Denny, is your roster. You want to take us through this? You start with Hurts and Allen at quarterback, obviously. That's what you're thinking the Super Bowl is?
Yeah. I mean, that's my thinking there. I stacked Allen with Stefon Diggs because really, with Josh Allen's rushing and the lack of other reliable options in the Buffalo passing game, Stefon Diggs sees so much of the target share, so much of the air yard share, that if Josh Allen's going to go off in these coming 2, 3, 4 games, whatever it is, then Diggs is going to follow along. Diggs is also going to have blow up performances in that stretch. So I went in on that stack. I took Hurts alone without a pass catcher for Philadelphia because he can get there by himself with the rushing. So that was my approach to quarterback for this tournament.
Yeah, so Denny, I see that you doubled up on the Chiefs here, and it doesn't include Patrick Mahomes. You got Jerick McKinnon in there. What made you want to go Jerick McKinnon over some of the other running backs that was available?
Right. So, I went with McKinnon and Kelsey because the target distribution has become narrowed somewhat in the Kansas City passing offense. And obviously, as the most pass-heavy team, an offense that passes no matter what, even when they have the lead, thank goodness, to have Patrick Mahomes' 2 most trusted pass catchers, especially in the short area stuff from McKinnon and then Kelsey in the middle of the field, I think that if you can combine those two, there's a lot of touchdown equity to go around for Kelce and McKinnon combined. It was hard to fade Mahomes, but I would benefit from his production with those two, I think.
Yep. Denny, you've gone 2 tight ends in your team now. I think Travis Kelce is probably going to be the first player picked for everyone who does this, but you're on Mark Andrews as well. Is that more about confidence in Mark Andrews or just lack of wanting anything to do with any other Raven?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I mean, I know Mark Andrews has been like barely a tight end 1 over the past 6 or 8 weeks. It's been really tough for fantasy. This is assuming that the Ravens are going to have Huntley back at least, maybe even Lamar. I'm not banking on it. But I think that they were being very careful with Huntley, obviously, last week and starting Anthony Brown. Andrews is basically the Ravens' like alpha wide receiver 1. He has a 32% air yard share, if I could get nerdy for a second, which is absurd for a tight end. It leads all tight ends by a country mile. This guy will get a ton of opportunity if the Ravens are forced into a pass-heavy script against the Bengals, and I think they will be, as the Ravens are pretty heavy underdogs. I think 6.5 points right now. And I think the Ravens will be forced to pass. That's great for Andrews. I think he'll get double-digit targets in this game. And if they move on, that's great for me. If not, I'm hoping to get one big game from Andrews.
Yeah, I agree with you, by the way. I put Andrews he was my choice from the Ravens, not because I wanted to use, I ended up going with Kelce at my tight end position as well. And I think as I look at the rosters here on my sheet, like all of us here at the table did, we all went Kelce at the tight end, which makes
I went Dobbins.
Well, yeah, but you went Kelce as your tight end.
Oh,
you went Dobbins as your one Ravens player.
Right,
also.
Oh, okay.
So the 3 of us, Jay, myself, and Denny, all went double up on tight ends. We all played Kelce. All of us played Kelce at our tight end. The 3 of us chose Andrews as our Raven representative. You went Dobbins as well. But that was my thought process. Not that he's a tight end, but just he's their best offensive player. Who's the guy that's most likely to score a touchdown and have a good game against the Cincinnati Bengals? Here's my roster, Denny. I don't know if it got sent to you or if you can see it. But I went Mahomes and Allen at quarterback. Basically, I said, you know what? I want one quarterback, and obviously, if the Bengals make it, I'm screwed here. But my take is I want one of these 2 guys in the Super Bowl. I want a Super Bowl quarterback. I'm not as convinced on the Eagles as you may be as well. I went with A.J. Brown for my Philadelphia representative. So I doubled up on the Chiefs, as you did. I went Mahomes and Kelce. You went McKinnon and Kelce. We both, but what I did do is you talk about sort of differentiation and trying to zig where others may zag. I used the 49ers defense. I went McCaffrey and the 49ers as my team that doubled up because I think there's a good chance the Niners are the representative in the NFC and that you could get real points from the Niners throughout the playoffs and obviously McCaffrey. And I just don't think a lot of people are going to choose. Most people in these contests use the defense as kind of a throwaway, right? Denny, I know you did that with the Jags, and so I thought that might be an interesting area to sort of try to gain an advantage.
Yep.
Well, I do think, just quickly, I think the Jags have a pretty good chance to put up some points against this Chargers offense, now banged up offense. It'll be, like you mentioned, Matthew, a hostile situation environment for the Chargers. They're flying across country. We know that doesn't always work out for West Coast teams. So I do like the Jags, but I was trying so hard to get the 49ers into my lineup because that defense is elite. And if they go, 3-4 games, they're going to score a lot of points.
All right, Lawrence, let's take a look at your team quickly, and you can give us your thoughts what the toughest decisions were.
Yeah, well, the tough decision for me was I love Matthew's strategy of, getting the Niners defense in there with McCaffrey. I threw away the defense. I'm going Seahawks right here.
Yep.
But where he was talking about zigging where others were zagging, I'm the only guy that got Joe Burrow here. So I'm picking the guy, that was in the Super Bowl last year. And I'm doubling it up with his receiver. So everybody will have either, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. That's where I'm looking to win right there. I'm looking to get, a touchdown out of J.K. Dobbins, down there at the bottom. Tony Pollard, if the Cowboys could win that game, you get 2 games out of him there. So I threw away the defense in hopes that adding more playmakers will have me winning.
You go with a Hurts-Brown stack along with your Burrow-Jamar Chase stack for the quarterback and wide receivers. Having 4 flexes in this format really opened some stuff up as well. So you went Tony Pollard at flex, but you could have gone CeeDee Lamb, which is what I did at the flex for my Cowboys position as well. Dobbins is an interesting choice just because it's a PPR format, so you're really banking on Dobbins scoring there. We all went Tyreek Hill. Denny, I know you went Jalen Waddle. Is that just a concern on Hill's injury? I may swap out from Hill to Waddle later. But Denny, was that your thought process there?
Partly. But over the final month of the regular season, Jalen Waddle actually led Tyreek Hill in yards per route run, receiving yards. He nearly equaled him in air yards per target. Like, I know a bunch of nerdy stuff, but like the underlying stats say that Jalen Waddle was getting a lot of opportunity relative to what he was seeing, back in October, in November. And in 2 games against this Bills defense this season, Jalen Waddle had 7 catches for 216 yards. In week 5, he accounted for over half of the Dolphins' receiving yards. So the Dolphins see something in this Bills defense that lets them exploit Buffalo via Waddle. I kind of bank on that in the wild card round.
Which makes total sense there, by the way. You went with the Jaguars defense. The rest of us all picked Travis Etienne as our Jaguars representative. Jay, let's take a look now at your roster, and Denny, get your reactions as well to Jay Croucher, the minister of, what did we decide you? The minister of chaos?
The merchant of chaos.
The merchant of chaos.
Now look, I'm going to keep this short because I've got the exact same team as Matthews, except I went with Kenneth Walker over Tyler Lockett. I just think that Ken Walker has a little bit more upside and the potential to, have that 100-yard game and a touchdown, Denny.
Yeah, I guess Walker, people would fade Walker because it's such an ugly matchup, right, against San Francisco in the opening round. But, he's a walking 75-yard touchdown waiting to happen. So he breaks off one of those in the wild card round and, you're golden. So I do like that from a contrarian standpoint.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.